So I've heard it, but we need to share with the world, Connor. Connor has been through some interesting times in his spearfishing journey. So Connor, why don't you tell us about the time you went with the Hong brothers up to the northern part of the island and did a little bit of spearfishing?
Opolu Point, Mikey Hong and Derek Hong, those guys were the ones that I dove with all the time. They're my favorite dive partners. Hilarious, good guys to go with. So we drive all the way up there, and we're going up Opolu Point, and there's one particular area that we like to go, and it was just beautiful. The conditions were glassy for the most part, had a little swell. And we get up there, we're all excited to go there, we get all geared up, and me, back then, I was kind of an ass, because I know when we're getting in places, I like to get ready quick. And whether that's because you get in first or not, I just like to get ready quick. The benefit is getting in before everybody else. So I got ready fairly quick, jumped in. I was like, hey, you guys, I'm going to go out and, there's an uku spot I want to go check real quick. And I was going to go out there. So when you guys get in, come get me, and then we'll continue north. And so I jumped in and I went out there. And they were 10 minutes behind me. So I get out there and I made a couple drops, dust and sand, and sure enough, I get a shot on an uku. It wasn't huge, it was probably like a 8-9 pounder, but it came right up to me. I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So I stoned it, and we got lucky, stoned it, spined it, and coming up, and I'm, confidence, thinking I'm cool, cocky, coming up, just not looking down, like not even paying attention to it, like, yeah, it's just normal. And right before I hit the surface, I feel my gun kind of yank, and I'm thinking, oh, so I put my snorkel and I looked down, and what I thought happened is I thought it came back to life and was fighting. But I looked down and it was gone. Like there was just no fish on my shaft. And I'm sitting there, where would it go? Where could it possibly disappear to? And I look over and there's a gray reef shark swimming away with an uku hanging out of its mouth. And I'm sitting there going, well, that sucks. It was like the first 5 minutes of the day and I've already gotten taxed by a gray and it was an uku. I don't want to lose an uku. So I kind of play around a little bit more. And I realize I look up and I'm like, where are they at? They haven't come and met me yet. And so I look up the coastline, and half a mile away, I see their flags, and I'm sitting there going, those turds, they left me behind. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna start working my way towards them. No big deal at this point. So I'm working my way up towards them, and I'm making a few drops. And at one point, I'm laying there on the bottom, and I see what I thought was kind of a big coral head off in the background. It turned out it wasn't a coral head, and I start to kind of go towards it up off the bottom to look, and it kind of disappears. I'm sitting there, well, that was really weird. So I go another 15, 20 yards, I make another drop, just kind of playing around, and I look, and there it is, but it's in a different spot now, and at this point I kind of can tell it's moving. So I'm sitting there going, oh God, that's huge, whatever that is, and I was like, it's got to be a tiger. So I come up, and at this point I'm starting to get nervous because I saw it a couple times now. Now I'm thinking, man, this thing's watching me, I'm not watching it, and it won't let me get close to it. So then I start really just going, beelining it straight for them. And I got to a certain point where I just got way too sketched out, and they were so far off. I was like, nope, I'm done. And I was kind of mad too. At that point I was getting irritated that they took off on me. So I turned around. I was like, no, I'm going to hug the shoreline on the way back so I don't get eaten by a tiger. Get out. And right before we got in that day, Derek had the keys to the truck, and he's on the other side of the truck, and he goes, hey, I'm going to put him over under a rock over here. And I was like, all right, cool. I kind of looked, saw him on the other side of the truck. I was like, okay, it shouldn't be too hard. There's a rock over there. So I get out of the water, go back up to the truck, go around the other side of the truck, and it is a rock field. And they're all about the same size. So I start flipping them over. At this point, I'm getting pretty irritated. Then I'm like, what if I flip them over too much and I can't find the keys? And then Derek can't find the keys, and we're stuck up here. So here I am sitting on the back of this truck with no shade. The cooler's inside of it, can't get into the cooler, can't get my drinks, and I'm pretty pissed at this point. I'm like, how did those guys just leave me? So I'm looking at, meanwhile, I'm looking out at this ocean, and it's so beautiful, and it's so flat, and it's a place we never get to go very often. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna suck it up, put my stuff back on, went back down, got in, and I started kicking as hard as I could to get over to them, all the while looking for that submarine shadow. Right as I turn the corner, just after I get in about 10 minutes, I see something going by me. I pop my head up, there's Mike and Derek going back to where we got in at. And I'm sitting there going, BS, dude, are you serious? God, I'm so mad at this point, like, whatever. So I'd had a few fish on my kui already, went to go get out after they got back on shore. The waves had picked up. Sit down and I'm pulling my fish in. As I go to pull them up, the kui breaks and my fish start floating away in the swell. At that point, I'm really pissed. So I grab my fins, put them up on a rock, a wave comes in and almost takes them away from me. So I grab them and I just tossed them as hard as I could toss them up into the rocks. Well, one split, one got stuck right between two boulders and went snap. So now I'm really, really mad, and they're up there trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Why is he so bummed? You know, he's like, they've never seen this side of me. So I stand up and I'm like, you guys want some fish? You know, it's down here. You go pick it up out of the surf. You know, and at that point I can tell Mike's trying not to laugh. He's like holding back a snigger. And Derek's just kind of looking at me like, what the hell? So I go to take a step and my booty is filled with water and it slides out from underneath me, and I couldn't even get my hands out in time, and I hit my head on the boulder so hard that it didn't actually hurt, which was really weird, maybe because I'm so thick-headed, I don't know. Hit my head on the boulder, and the sound it made, and then I'm kind of at that, you know, so mad at that point. I get up there and I don't say anything to him. I just get my stuff, and about halfway back into town, we're driving, and Mike's in the back seat, and I hear him back there, and Derek kind of quiet, and he's just kind of looking at me every now and then, like not wanting to say anything. And all of a sudden I hear Mike in the back seat go, hey Connor, you okay? And of course I started to bust out laughing, and Derek started laughing, and yeah, they'd never seen that side of me. One of the worst days of my diving. Luckily nothing really bad happened, but yeah, so it's one of those stories that we always looked back on, and it always incite a laugh between us. So anyway, long story longer, I got more of them too. You guys just wait.
We'll see you in the next video.